Questions. My dear friends, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak with you today. I want to begin with just one gentle reminder: life is short. Questions. But our ability to live it fully depends on how wide our heart is, not how long our years are. And so the title today, Be Happy Every Single Day, No Matter What Life Throws. Sounds beautiful. Questions, right? But let's be honest, sometimes life throws not flowers but bricks. And not soft mangoes but hard coconuts. Questions. Sometimes life throws so many problems that we start wondering, is there a discount going on? Buy one problem, get 10 free. But despite all this, I want you to remember one thing. Questions. Happiness is not something life gives. Happiness is something we choose every single day. Let me share a small story. One day, a man came to me frustrated. He said, "Why is life not easy?" Questions. Why do problems keep coming? I smiled at him and said, life is not a hotel where you check in for comfort. Life is a gym where you check in to become stronger. And just like in a gym, questions. Sometimes the weights are heavy, but do you tell the trainer, please remove all the weights? I want to become strong without lifting anything. No, we grow because of the weight. Similarly, questions. We grow because of difficulties. The problem is not the problem. The problem is our attitude toward the problem. People often say, questions. I'll be happy when I get the job. I'll be happy when I get married. I'll be happy when I get rich. I'll be happy when I succeed. My dear friends, questions. I'll be happy when is the biggest scam we tell ourselves. Because the moment we get that one thing, another desire jumps in front of us like a pop-up ad. Congratulations. Questions. But now click here for your next worry. Happiness is not there. Happiness is here now, today, in this moment. It's not about having everything perfect. Questions. It's about seeing something perfect in everything. Have you ever noticed something? Even your phone needs charging every single day. Why do you expect your mind to stay charged without effort? Questions. Some days are happy, some days are heavy, some days are confusing, and some days are simply off days. But that's okay, because happiness is not the absence of problems. Questions. Happiness is the presence of perspective, and perspective comes when you remind yourself, this too shall pass. Clouds come and go, but the sun remains. Your difficulties come and go. Questions. But your inner strength remains. If I ask you, what is wrong in your life? You'll give me a long list, maybe even a PowerPoint presentation. But if I ask questions, what is right in your life? Many people go silent. We have become experts at counting problems and amateurs at counting blessings. Remember, when you are grateful, questions, happiness comes running toward you automatically. Gratitude turns less into enough. Gratitude turns a meal into a feast. Gratitude turns a house into a home. Questions. Gratitude turns a stranger into a friend. We live in a time where everyone is scrolling through other people's highlights and comparing them to their own behind the scenes. Questions. If someone buys a car, you feel you need a car. If someone posts a Maldives picture, you feel your room is a prison. If someone gets married, auntie starts calling you every day. But remember, a flower does not bloom by comparing itself to the flower next to it. Questions. It blooms by focusing on the sunlight and water it receives. Focus on your journey, not someone else's. One day a student asked me, Sir, questions. How do I stay calm when life is chaotic? I told him a simple line. You don't calm the storm, you calm yourself. The storm will pass. Though we cannot control people. We cannot control situations. Questions. We cannot control outcomes. But we can control our reactions, our mindset, our inner balance. That is real strength, not muscles but mastery. If you put a rose in dirty water, it won't bloom. Questions. Similarly, if you keep your mind in toxic environments, you won't bloom spiritually or mentally. Choose people who are like sunshine, not those who constantly bring thunderstorms. Questions. Surround yourself with those who motivate you, celebrate you, and bring out your best. And remember, protect your peace the way you protect your phone, with a strong password. Questions. When your life has a purpose, even pain feels meaningful. When your life lacks purpose, even comfort feels boring. Every morning, ask yourself questions. What can I give today? Not what can I get today. A purpose gives direction. Direction gives clarity. Clarity gives peace. And peace gives happiness. Questions. Life is too short to be serious all the time. Even God must be laughing when He sees how seriously we take our problems. Laugh at the small things. Laugh at your own mistakes. Questions. Laugh at the moments that don't go as planned. A heart that can laugh cannot stay sad for too long. Just like a phone needs a charger, your soul needs silence. Your mind needs meditation. Questions. Your heart needs prayer. When you sit with yourself every day, just for a few minutes, you create an inner space where peace begins to grow. Remember, happiness is not something you chase outside. Questions. It's something you uncover inside. My dear friends, life will always throw something. Problems, challenges, surprises, setbacks, but you can throw something back. Courage, gratitude, faith, questions, positivity, and a smiling heart. Do not wait for the perfect day to be happy. Make today happy. Make this moment happy. Because happiness is not found, it is created by you every single day. Questions. No matter what life throws. Thank you so much. May you stay blessed, stay grateful, and stay happy always. Questions. Happiness is not something you wait for like a bus that arrives according to its own timetable. It's something you decide with intention. Questions. Every single morning, just like you decide what clothes to wear or what food to eat. Many people believe that happiness is a grand event waiting at the finish line of success, wealth, relationships, questions, or achievements. But if happiness depended on something far away in the future, then most of us would remain unhappy for most of our lives. Happiness is not a destination you reach someday. Questions. It is a choice you make today, right now, in this very moment. Think about how we usually live. We wake up, check our phones, see something stressful, an email, a message, questions, a news update, and immediately our mood is hijacked. Then one thing goes wrong. Maybe we spill tea on our clothes, we get stuck in traffic, or someone says something unpleasant. And suddenly we say, questions. Today is a bad day. But is it really a bad day, or is it just one bad moment that we decided to stretch over the whole day? If we let one moment define our whole day, questions, we are handing over the remote control of our happiness to circumstances. Happiness begins by taking that remote back. Imagine this simple example from daily life. You wake up, questions, and it's raining heavily. Now you have two choices. You can complain, oh no, this rain, traffic, wet clothes, inconvenience. And your whole day will follow that tone. Questions. Or you can choose differently. You can say, the rain is not in my control, but the way I respond is. You might look out the window, appreciate the fresh air, the smell of the soil. Questions. The beauty of nature. The rain didn't change. What changed was your decision. This is the power of choosing happiness. Let me give you another very relatable scenario. Questions. Suppose you're driving to work and someone cuts in front of you aggressively. Most people instinctively react with anger, irritation, or frustration. But imagine someone who has decided, today, questions, I will not let anyone take away my peace. Instead of reacting emotionally, they smile, slow down, and let the person go. Questions. Not because they're weak, but because they value their peace more than winning an argument on the road. This is what choosing happiness looks like in real life. Choosing peace over anger. Questions. Choosing calm over chaos. Choosing response over reaction. You see, happiness is similar to brushing your teeth. You don't brush once and say, this will last me for life. No. Questions. You do it every day consistently. because neglecting it for even a few days causes problems. In the same way, you don't choose happiness once, you choose it repeatedly, day after day, questions, moment after moment. Consistency creates a habit, and that habit becomes a lifestyle. Let's come to another simple example. Think of two co-workers at the same job, with the same salary, questions, the same workload, and the same boss. One is always irritated, complaining, and looking stressed. The other is cheerful, calm, and grateful. The workload didn't change. The boss didn't change. Questions. The office didn't change. The only difference is the lens through which each person views their world. We often forget that our mind is like a camera lens. When it's dirty with negativity, questions, comparison, fear, or irritation, everything looks blurry and unpleasant. But when we clean that lens with gratitude, mindfulness, perspective, and kindness, questions, even ordinary things start looking beautiful. Choosing happiness is choosing to clean your mental lens every day. One more example. A mother wakes up early every day to prepare food for her family. Questions. Some days she may feel tired and irritated thinking everyday chores, every day the same routine. But another mother doing the same task thinks, questions, I am grateful that I have a family to cook for. These moments won't last forever. The same action but two different energies. The second one chose happiness. Questions. She created meaning where others saw monotony. Happiness doesn't come from what we do, it comes from how we think while doing it. And yes, life does throw unexpected situations at us. Questions. There are days when everything seems to fall apart, when plans fail, relationships become complicated, finances get tight, or health becomes uncertain. But even on those days, questions, you can choose one small moment of happiness. Maybe it's enjoying your tea. Maybe it's listening to a soothing song. Maybe it's appreciating a sunset. Maybe it's hugging someone you love. Questions. Maybe it's just breathing deeply and telling yourself, I will get through this. You don't need a perfect life to be happy. Questions. You just need perfect moments. And those moments come from conscious decisions, not perfect circumstances. And the beauty is choosing happiness doesn't mean ignoring problems. Questions. It means facing them with a hopeful heart instead of a heavy one. It means telling yourself, no matter what life throws today, I choose to protect my inner joy. Every morning, questions. Ask yourself one simple question. What energy do I want to live with today? Because whatever you choose, that is what your day becomes. Happiness is not a luxury. Questions, it is not dependent on external achievements. It is a discipline, a practice, a choice, a decision. A decision made by you for you every single day. Questions. Many individuals expect life to function like a controlled environment, similar to a classroom with predictable lessons. In practice, questions. Life operates more like a gym, an environment designed to create resistance, challenge the body, and cultivate strength. The primary principle of physical training is straightforward. Questions. Muscles grow when they are exposed to tension, pressure, and repeated resistance. The absence of resistance leads not to comfort, but to weakness. Questions. The same principle applies to psychological and emotional development in daily life. Consider a basic example from a gym. A person lifts a 5-kilogram weight on the first day. Questions. The weight feels difficult initially, but after consistent repetitions, the weight becomes manageable. The individual increases it to 10 kilograms, then 15, and gradually the body adapts. Questions. Strength is not produced by comfort. It is produced by progressive challenge. If the person keeps lifting only the 5-kilogram weight, the body will not experience measurable improvement. Questions. This process is mechanical, observable, and predictable. Life follows a similar operational pattern. Challenges, whether in personal relationships, professional environments, financial obligations, questions, or health-related situations, function as the emotional equivalent of heavier weights. They appear inconvenient in the moment, but they develop resilience, strategic thinking, and adaptability. Questions. A practical daily example can be seen in workplace pressure. An individual entering a new job often encounters unfamiliar systems, tight deadlines, and challenging colleagues. Questions. These initial difficulties frequently create stress, but over time the same individual develops competence, learns the workflow, identifies efficient strategies, questions, and becomes capable of handling more complex responsibilities. Without the initial pressure, these skills would not emerge. Questions. The stress felt in the beginning is similar to muscle soreness after a workout. It indicates growth in progress. Another example can be observed in interpersonal relationships. Miscommunications, questions, disagreements, and differing expectations are common. When two people consistently navigate these differences with communication, patience, questions, and understanding, they develop stronger relational skills. These include active listening, emotional regulation, and conflict resolution. These are not innate traits, questions. They are learned through experience. If a relationship never encountered friction, these competencies would remain underdeveloped. The relationship would appear smooth, questions, but it would lack the strength to withstand serious external pressures. Financial challenges demonstrate a similar pattern. Questions. A person learning to manage expenses under limited income conditions often becomes more disciplined. They track spending, prioritize essential needs, compare prices, and make informed decisions. Questions. These habits, once learned under pressure, remain valuable even when financial conditions improve. Questions. Individuals who never face constraints may lack these skills entirely and experience difficulty when unexpected expenses arise. In this way, questions. Financial stress functions like resistance that strengthens long-term stability. Even small daily inconveniences contribute to skill development. For instance, questions. Navigating heavy traffic teaches patience and improves reaction time. Unexpected schedule disruptions teach flexibility. Handling criticism teaches emotional control and analytical thinking. Questions. These minor repetitive exposures build mental endurance over time. Questions. A relevant real-world observation is that individuals who have faced substantial adversity earlier in life frequently develop high problem-solving capacity. Questions. Studies on resilience indicate that exposure to moderate, manageable levels of stress during early years correlates with stronger coping abilities in adulthood. Questions. Individuals who never face such stressors may struggle significantly when confronted with ordinary life problems later on. This follows the same principle as physical conditioning. Questions. Absence of resistance produces fragility, not comfort. The analogy of life as a gym also clarifies why avoiding challenges does not produce long-term well-being. Questions. If someone avoids physical exercise to escape discomfort, physical strength declines measurably. In the same way, avoiding difficult conversations, decisions, questions, or responsibilities may reduce discomfort temporarily, but it weakens confidence and capability. When unavoidable challenges eventually appear, questions, the individual lacks the necessary skills to respond effectively. Daily life provides numerous opportunities to view difficulties through this functional lens. For example, questions. A delayed project at work is not simply an inconvenience, it is an opportunity to improve time management and communication. A conflict with a colleague is not a setback. Questions. It is a chance to develop negotiation and interpersonal skills. A failure in a personal goal is not a final outcome. It is feedback that reveals gaps in planning or execution. Questions. A health-related wake-up call encourages long-term discipline in diet, exercise, and rest. In each case, the difficulty operates like resistance in a training routine. Questions. It pushes the individual beyond their established limit, thereby building capacity. It is important to note that not all hardships are beneficial. Just as excessive physical strain can cause injury, questions, overwhelming stress without support can be harmful. The key comparison lies in the nature of manageable challenges. those that stretch an individual but do not break them. These challenges, questions, when approached with the correct mindset, lead to measurable growth in competence, resilience, and perspective. Seeing life through this lens reduces unnecessary frustration. Questions. Instead of interpreting difficulties as personal misfortune, one can interpret them as structured opportunities for development. This shift is practical, not emotional. Questions. It reframes the situation in a way that aligns with observed patterns of human growth. A person who consistently applies this mindset begins to recognize improvements over time, greater confidence, questions, clearer judgment, and increased stability in stressful situations. These gains are cumulative. Just as consistent training leads to long-term physical fitness, questions, consistent engagement with life's challenges builds lasting mental and emotional capacity. In summary, the analogy of life as a gym is not metaphorical only. It reflects a measurable pattern. Questions, resistance creates strength, avoidance maintains weakness, engagement develops capability. Daily life continually provides opportunities to build that capability. Questions. The decision to engage with challenges rather than resist them creates long-term resilience and functional strength that benefits individuals across all areas of life. Questions. The size of a problem is rarely what determines how deeply it affects us. Rather, it is the size of the perspective with which we face it. Two people may encounter the same challenge, questions, yet one feels overwhelmed while the other remains calm. The difference is not in the problem, but in the lens through which they see it. Questions. Perspective is the invisible tool that shapes our emotional reactions more than the problem itself ever could. Imagine holding a small pebble close to your eye. Questions. It appears huge, large enough to block your entire view. But when you move it even a few inches away, you can see the world clearly. Questions. And the pebble becomes insignificant compared to the vastness around you. The pebble didn't change, your distance from it did. Problems are exactly like that pebble. Questions. When we allow them to sit too close to our mind, they dominate everything. When we create distance through perspective, they shrink. Think of a small everyday situation. You spill your morning tea. Questions. In the moment, irritation arises instantly. The mind says, now my entire day is ruined. But pause. The tea is a minor inconvenience. It delays you by a few minutes at most. Yet mentally, questions. It feels bigger because we let that small moment occupy too much space. If you step back and say, it's just tea, I can clean it and move on, the incident loses its power. Questions. The problem didn't shrink, your perspective grew. Another relatable example comes from workplace dynamics. Suppose your supervisor criticizes your work. One perspective might be, questions, I'm not good enough, I always mess things up. That perspective drains confidence and motivation. Another perspective might be, this is feedback intended to help me grow. Questions, I can improve. Same words from the supervisor, same situation, but the emotional outcome changes completely depending on how you frame it. Perspective acts as a filter. When the filter is negative, questions, everything looks darker. When the filter is positive or balanced, even challenges appear manageable. Let's bring in a more meaningful example. Imagine two individuals stuck in traffic. Questions. One person honks, complains, curses the situation, and arrives home frustrated. The second person uses the same time to listen to calming music, reflect on their day, or think peacefully. Same traffic, questions, same delay, but two very different experiences. Traffic didn't decide their mood, they did. Their perspective shaped their emotional journey long before they reached their destination. Questions. Perspective also plays a powerful role in relationships. Misunderstandings often arise not from what happened, but from how we interpret what happened. Suppose your friend replies late to your message. Questions. One perspective is, they don't care about me anymore. Another is, they must be busy or dealing with something. The first perspective creates emotional distance. Questions. The second preserves trust. The situation did not change, only the interpretation did. This is why perspective is more important than the problem itself. Questions. Perspective allows you to choose your emotional response instead of letting the problem dictate it. Let's consider a bigger life example: failure. Many people experience a setback and conclude questions. I'm not capable, or life is unfair. Yet others face the same setback and say questions. This is a lesson, or this is redirecting me to something better. Failure becomes defeat only when perspective limits your vision. When perspective expands, failure becomes a teacher. Questions. Here's another everyday illustration: weather. If the day is cloudy and rainy, some people feel gloomy. Others see it as a chance to slow down, enjoy a warm drink, or appreciate nature differently. Questions. Again, the weather is the same, but the inner weather changes the experience. Perspective is also about zooming out. When we are caught in a moment of stress, questions, we often forget that life is bigger than that moment. A delay is not a disaster. A disagreement is not the end of a relationship. A rejection is not the end of your journey. Questions. But when we zoom in too closely on the moment, we magnify it unnecessarily. Think of watching a movie. If you freeze the screen during a sad scene, you might think the whole movie is depressing. Questions. But when you continue watching, you see twists, resolutions, lessons, and joy. Life functions the same way. A difficult moment feels all-consuming only when we freeze our perspective. Questions. When we allow ourselves to see the bigger picture, the moment becomes just one scene, not the whole story. Nature teaches this lesson beautifully. Trees lose their leaves every autumn. Questions. If a tree had human emotions, it might think everything is falling apart. But from the perspective of nature, this cycle is preparation for new growth in spring. The loss is temporary. Questions. The renewal is coming. In the same way, when life removes something from you, sometimes it is preparing you for something better. Perspective is also shaped by gratitude. Questions. When you appreciate what you have, difficulties appear smaller. When you focus only on what you lack, even small discomforts feel unbearable. Gratitude expands perspective. Questions. While negativity restricts it. Consider someone who loses their job. From one angle, it is frightening and painful. But from another angle, it might be an opportunity to explore a new path. Questions. Learn new skills, or discover strengths they didn't know they had. Many people later say, questions, losing that job was the best thing that ever happened to me. The event didn't change, perspective did. Ultimately, perspective doesn't remove problems. It transforms the way we hold them. Questions. It turns fear into courage, inconvenience into patience, loss into learning, and stress into strength. Problems are unavoidable, but perspective is a choice. Questions. And that choice determines whether the problem crushes you or shapes you into someone stronger. When your perspective grows, even the biggest problem becomes manageable. When perspective shrinks, questions, even small problems feel unbearable. The power lies not in changing life's events, but in changing the lens through which you experience them. Questions. Perspective matters more than the problem because perspective determines how your heart, mind, and energy respond. Questions. And that response shapes the quality of your life far more than the problem ever could. Questions. Gratitude is one of the simplest yet most powerful tools for transforming how we experience life. It doesn't require wealth, perfect circumstances, or a trouble-free existence. Questions. It requires only a shift in awareness. When gratitude becomes a habit, even the most ordinary moments begin to shine. The truth is simple. Questions. Happiness doesn't always come from getting more. Often it comes from appreciating what we already have. In our daily rush, we often take life's blessings for granted. Questions. We get so used to them that we stop noticing their value. Think of something as basic as waking up in the morning. We open our eyes and immediately start planning our day. work, deadlines, tasks, questions, calls, but we rarely pause to acknowledge the miracle of simply waking up. Someone, somewhere, went to sleep last night and didn't get that chance. Yet we treat this priceless gift as routine. Questions. Gratitude opens our eyes to how much we already possess. Take a simple example, food. Imagine a day when you are extremely hungry and finally someone hands you a fresh, warm meal. Questions. The relief you feel in that moment is enormous. But on a regular day, when food is easily available, we often eat without appreciating the effort behind it. The farmer who grew the crops, questions, the worker who transported them, the vendor who sold them, the person at home who cooked with love. Gratitude allows us to see the chain of kindness that supports our everyday life. Questions. Another daily example involves our health. When we are healthy, we don't think twice about walking, bending, lifting, or moving. But the day we catch a cold or strain a muscle, questions, even the smallest tasks become difficult. Suddenly we realize how precious ordinary health is. Gratitude teaches us to appreciate these simple abilities before life reminds us through discomfort. Questions. Gratitude also changes how we view relationships. Many people focus on what their loved ones don't do rather than what they do. If a friend forgets to call, we feel upset. Questions. If a partner doesn't meet our expectations, we feel neglected. If parents repeat advice, we feel annoyed. But we often overlook the countless ways these same people have supported us over the years. Questions. Gratitude redirects our attention from shortcomings to strengths, from complaints to connection. Consider a scenario. You come home tired from work, and the house is a bit messy. Questions. Your mind immediately focuses on what is wrong, who didn't clean, why things are out of place. But gratitude invites you to shift perspective. You have a home to return to. Questions. A family to share space with. Comfort that many people long for. The mess suddenly becomes a sign of life, not a burden. This shift doesn't eliminate challenges, questions, but it prevents them from overshadowing our blessings. One of the most powerful aspects of gratitude is its ability to calm the mind. When we worry, the mind zooms in on what we lack. Questions. Gratitude zooms out and reveals what we have. Both exist simultaneously, our blessings and our problems. But we choose which one gets our attention. And whatever we focus on grows. Questions. Another powerful example comes from financial life. Imagine two individuals earning the same amount of money. One constantly compares their salary to others and feels dissatisfied. Questions. The other expresses gratitude for having a stable income, food, shelter, and basic comforts. The difference in their emotional state is dramatic. Gratitude doesn't change the number in the bank, questions, but it changes the energy in the heart. Even in difficult times, gratitude can soften the heaviness of the moment. Suppose you lose an important opportunity. It hurts, questions, but gratitude helps you remember your abilities, your past successes, your supportive friends, and the lessons learned. Questions. It shifts your mindset from, why did this happen to me, to, what can I learn from this? This shift doesn't erase the disappointment, but it prevents it from consuming you. Questions. One of the most inspiring aspects of gratitude is that it grows stronger when practiced intentionally. For example, questions. If you spend 1 minute each morning acknowledging 3 things you feel thankful for, your family, your breath, your job, your home, you begin training the mind to notice the positive. Over time, questions. This practice rewires your thinking. You start seeing beauty where earlier you saw nothing special. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring problems. It simply means not ignoring the blessings. Questions. Imagine walking into a room where 1 bulb is fused but 9 are glowing. If you focus only on the fused one, you'll complain. But if you focus on the 9 that are working, questions, you'll appreciate the light. Such is our life, a mix of light and dark. Gratitude teaches us to celebrate the light. Another daily example is public transportation. On a crowded bus or train, questions. We often complain about the rush, the noise, the delays. But gratitude helps you see differently. You have transport, you're on the way to your destination, questions, and you're surrounded by people who are all trying to make their day work. Gratitude transforms irritation into understanding. Gratitude also deepens joy. Questions. A grateful person doesn't wait for big achievements to celebrate. They find joy in small victories. The taste of morning tea, a message from a friend, a cool breeze, a beautiful sunset. Questions. While others are waiting for happiness, a grateful person is already experiencing it. And the most beautiful truth is this: gratitude costs nothing and yet gives everything. It improves mental health. Questions. Strengthens relationships, increases optimism, and creates inner peace. It shifts us from complaining to appreciating, from scarcity to abundance, from stress to contentment. Questions. Gratitude is truly the shortcut to happiness because it changes how we see the world. Quietly, gently, but powerfully. When we practice gratitude, life doesn't magically become perfect. Questions. But our ability to see its beauty becomes stronger. And when our vision changes, our experience of life changes too. Questions. Comparison is one of the most silent yet powerful thieves of happiness. It doesn't shout, it doesn't knock, it simply slips into the mind unnoticed and starts poisoning our peace. Questions. In today's world, especially with social media, comparison has become easier than breathing. You scroll and see someone's perfect vacation, perfect body, perfect job, perfect relationship. Questions. Perfect everything, and suddenly, without even realizing it, your own life starts looking dull, incomplete, and insufficient. But what we forget is that people only share their highlight reels. Questions. Not their behind the scenes struggles. Yet we compare our entire lives to those filtered moments. Imagine this simple daily situation: you wake up feeling good. You're grateful for your home. Questions. Your family may be even excited about your day. But then you open your phone, and within minutes you see someone your age buying a new car, another buying a new house. Questions. Someone posting a fancy breakfast at an expensive cafe. Without warning, the good mood you woke up with evaporates. Nothing in your life changed. Questions. But comparison changed the way you feel about your life. This is the danger of comparison. It makes you blind to your blessings and overly sensitive to someone else's achievements. Questions. Imagine two plants placed side by side. One grows tall quickly, the other takes time. If the second plant keeps looking at the first and thinking, questions, why am I not like it? It will miss the nourishment it needs to grow. Plants don't compare, they simply grow at their own pace. But humans compare and stunt their own growth. Questions. Another common example comes from school or college. A student works hard, gets a good grade, feels proud, and goes home happy. But as soon as they discover another classmate scored higher, questions, all that pride and happiness disappear. Suddenly, the achievement feels small, even though nothing about their effort or result changed. Questions. This clearly shows that comparison doesn't just steal joy, it steals clarity. It makes you forget your own progress. Comparison also ruins relationships. Questions. Suppose your partner does something nice, cooks a meal, buys a gift, or spends time with you. You feel good. Questions. But then you see someone on social media receiving expensive gifts or grand romantic gestures. Suddenly you feel disappointed. Not because your partner did anything wrong, questions, but because comparison told you that what you have is not enough. Without comparison, you would have appreciated the gesture with a full heart. Comparison also affects career satisfaction. Questions. Imagine a person who earns fairly well and is doing fine in their job. They feel stable and content. But then they see someone online who became a CEO at a young age. Questions. Or someone who quit their job to travel the world, and suddenly their own steady life feels boring. But the truth is, every journey is different. Every timeline is unique. Questions. What works for one person may not work for another. It's like running a marathon. Everyone starts at the same line, but no two people have the same speed, stamina, or strategy. Questions. If you keep looking at the runner next to you instead of focusing on your own steps, you'll lose your rhythm and exhaust yourself. Life is not a race to see who reaches success first. Questions. It is a journey where everyone has their own path. Let's take a relatable personal example. You walk into someone's beautifully decorated home. Immediately, you start evaluating your own house. Questions. Their sofa is better. Their curtains look nicer. Their kitchen is more modern. You suddenly feel that your home is lacking. But before entering their house, questions, you were perfectly happy with your own. This proves a simple truth. Comparison creates suffering where none existed. Comparison also blinds us to the truth that everyone struggles. Questions. The person posting luxury photos may be fighting loneliness. The one sharing gym pictures may be battling self-doubt. The one showing perfect relationships may be hiding arguments. Questions. No one posts their pain, but everyone has it. Comparison makes us assume that others have perfect lives while we alone have difficulties. It isolates us emotionally and creates unnecessary insecurity. Questions. Another powerful example, imagine two people eating the same simple meal. One eats happily, enjoying every bite. Questions. The other scrolls through pictures of someone eating at a 5-star restaurant and suddenly loses the joy of their own meal. This is how comparison works. It doesn't change what's in your plate. It changes how you feel about it. Comparison is like wearing tinted glasses. It distorts what you see. It makes your blessings look faded and others' blessings look brighter. The truth, however, questions, is that everyone's life shines differently at different times. To understand the danger of comparison, consider a scenario where you receive something special, a promotion, a compliment, an award. Questions, you feel proud, but then someone tells you another person achieved something bigger. Instantly your joy fades. This shows that comparison doesn't just kill joy, it kills motivation, gratitude, questions, and confidence too. Life becomes lighter when we stop measuring ourselves with someone else's ruler. When we stop comparing, we start appreciating. When we start appreciating, we start living. Questions. Every person's journey is unique. Just because someone blooms earlier doesn't mean your flower will never bloom. Questions. Just because someone has something today doesn't mean you won't have something better tomorrow. And just because your path looks different doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means it's yours. Questions. Imagine how peaceful life becomes when you look at others not with envy or competition but with inspiration. Their success does not take anything away from your potential. Questions. Their light does not dim your shine. There is room for everyone in this world to grow beautifully. Comparison kills joy, but gratitude revives it. Comparison creates insecurity. Questions, but self-awareness heals it. Comparison blinds you, but inner focus guides you. When you stop comparing, you begin celebrating your pace, your progress, your blessings, your uniqueness. Questions. Life becomes brighter the moment you decide to walk your own path without constantly checking who is ahead or who is behind. After all, questions. The only person you are meant to be better than is who you were yesterday.